Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hadeen, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in sunny Mesa, Arizona. This week, I have flooring industry royalty with me. We've got the great Jane Walker, and we're going to get to letting her introduce herself in just a minute. For those of you tuning in online in the Facebook group, you're lucky. This is interview number 2 today, and then it'll come out obviously a little bit later in the podcast format. I want to encourage everyone to learn while they earn. I hope you're tuning in while you work and getting a little bit of that education so that you can push your business forward. This podcast is here to elevate the industry from the ground up. I want to make sure that installers are doing right by themselves, and then they can afford to go and buy premium materials and premium products and provide better quality installations for their clients. And CFI plays a big role in that. And so we're gonna learn about the early days and Jane's role in that. So Jane, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself for me, who you are, what you do, why you do it a little bit. Like what's the brief overview before we dig into all of the past?
Well, all of that I'm not sure exactly, but my husband Jim had a dream. We were in Kansas City, but he was spending a lot of time in Dalton, Georgia, because he worked for so many different clients. And it seemed to us that installers there was just nowhere that they could get the kind of attention that they needed to perform in their work daily and be very proud of who they were. Mm-hmm. So little by little, he talked about it. And one day he said, we're going to have a Kansas City organization, and if it works, then we'll go from there. So for 4 years, back in 1994, I believe it was, we had a local chapter in Kansas City. Well, it didn't take long before people who knew Jim wanted to have a chapter also. Okay. So soon there was one in Kalispell, Montana, and let me think here just a moment. Oh, my goodness. We had Kalispell, we had South Dakota, and we had, I can't think of who the third one was right now. Well, I'll tell you in a minute. Anyhow, it's too long ago. My brain's gone. But what happened was they did so well, and every chapter had so many members that it was just seemed to be the right thing to try to take it on a national level. Okay. So he began giving seminars all over this country. All we did was we had a great group from Kansas City. Oh my golly, Bob Gillespie, Al Brown, Jackie Jones, Terry Dollinger. They went with us every weekend. And Jim paid the expenses, but everybody was ready to go. And then we would go on Friday, and we would meet Friday evening, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and teaching installers. And it was quite something, and hope you got back home by Monday, Sunday night, so you go to work on Monday morning. But it really took off. It took off in such a manner that CFI eventually had almost 40 chapters. Now, they're not as prolific today because there's just not as many people out there that can get involved. But it's still CFI is doing a great job. We left about maybe almost 6 years ago, I guess. And John McHale in the national office, he does a fantastic job of keeping people informed and keeping CFI out there. And he told me the other day that the training programs are getting more and more, and that's exciting too. Some of them are now, they go 6 weeks. They have a school there in Texas, and people can go there and learn from the ground up. Robert Varden is the vice president now, and he's traveling around spreading the word. He attends all the meetings and makes sure that people know that CFI is out there. So CFI is very much in the forefront, and it's still going strong, and we're very proud of that.
Definitely. No, I think it's great. It's one of those things that I think a lot of people don't realize how much they need it until they get convinced to actually go. You have to drop down the machismo, and like let yourself say, maybe I'm not the best, maybe I can go learn a thing or two, and you get to attend, and then you find out what you were missing, and that there are better ways. But for me, it's always been the hand skills are great, but anyone willing to attend a CFI event or any certification, whether it's for tile or hardwood or any of them, if you're willing to leave what you're doing during the week and give up money and invest in yourself, those are the people I want to go and network with. The relationships you build are amazing. And I'm sure some of the guys you mentioned that were there in the early days, all those gentlemen still talk and interact with each other as often as possible, because that's really what it was about, I think, is the networking and being able to do that.
Well, nobody knew anybody else in the flooring industry. You were always competitors. Mm-hmm. And what the Kansas City chapter did was we shared every month there was a new technique, something new they could learn, and they never had the opportunity. There was no place to go. So everybody was sharing. That's what really put CFI, I think, on the map, was the willingness of the certifiers, and we built quite a team of almost, it came close in the end here. I don't know how many we had. It seems like we had about 40. But they would just go, you'd call them up and buy and then it was really funny because back then I could just buy, say, 10 airline tickets, and then I'd put anybody's name on them I wanted to. You can't do those kind of things today.
No.
But I could do that, and so I'd get whoever could go that week, and off we'd go. We'd meet at the airport, and we'd take off, and they were wonderful people. Had it not been for them, there is no way that we could have grown and been where we are today. Mm-hmm. Bob Gillespie that original team is still very, very active. And it makes all the difference in the world when people feel important. And that's what our goal was with CFI, to make installers important.
I think it's true. To me, it's always, it's funny how this industry kind of reacts towards installers, but in all reality, to me, the manufacturers can make all the products they want, and the retailers can sell all the product they want. But at the end of the day, without an installer, who's making it pretty and making the client happy that bought it?
And nobody made that installer important.
Correct.
Installer was never important. And what Jim did and did so well was made people feel like, their role is very important. Without a good installation, what do you have? So you got a pretty carpet, or you got a pretty floor, whatever it is, but you don't have anything if it's not installed properly.
Correct. So I've heard stories, and I think this part's true, I know, but there's probably more to it. So in the early days, there was like 10 or 13 guys or so, and they, with the Kansas City chapter, like they decided to certify each other essentially, but there wasn't like, I don't know that there was official, like they had anything written up yet or anything like that, but essentially then they drew their numbers out of a hat so that nobody got to decide like I'm number one because I went first. It was up to the luck of the draw. So like Jim's not number one. Jim was number like 5 or something like that, right?
Well, he's number 11.
Okay.
And Bob Gillespie from Kansas City is number 1. And he insisted that Jim take number 1. And Jim said, no, that's not what this organization is. This is everybody's important person in this organization. So today Bob goes around, I'm number 1, and it's really kind of cute. But in the early days, we all got together and we wrote our curriculum. The test was very long. It's been shortened considerably, but back then, oh my gosh, we had it so long. And we'd send out study sheets. We didn't want them to come and think, we're going to surprise you. Mm-hmm. So we sent study sheets. So basically all the questions to the test were on the study sheets. And once they registered, and back then, this is funny, you sent in $10, which didn't even pay for anything. But that's okay. We got our numbers together. And our biggest certification was back on the East Coast. And we had in New Jersey, and we had a little over 100 guys.
Oh, wow.
And we really had to prepare for that because you loaded a truck, and our son then with Daddy's course, and we loaded the truck with all the underlayment, with all the supplies, with everything. They had to furnish the carpet back there, but everything else was on that truck. Mm-hmm. And when we got there and got it unloaded, got it set up, it was everything was ready to go. And the guys came in, and they were very nervous because nothing like this had ever happened before. But they soon lost that, call it a scared feeling.
Yeah.
Because they could see that the guys were just like they were. Mm-hmm. And what they showed them, the things that they'd never seen. They'd never seen running a row. Really. I know that sounds funny today, but CFI has made such a difference because of the things that Jim and the team taught that people didn't know. Mm-hmm. And they'd go teach somebody else. And then they set up a chapter and they'd do the same little things at their chapter. So it really spread. There's just not one person that you can say is the most important, because everybody did something to make it grow in their community.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that was the beauty of it. It was a very grassroots movement, as people latched onto it, they were passionate about it. They understood the mission and the goals and the vision that you had, and they wanted to spread that and stick with it. And I think it's still there. I think now there's just so many more. The internet's a weird place where anyone can hop on a keyboard and be behind a screen and you never see them, and they can say whatever they want. And there's a lot of people that hate on all of the certification programs, but when you find the right person, it's amazing how you can open their eyes and educate them and make them realize that they really do make a difference in this industry, in their position, and that they do have more value than what a lot of people give them.
I don't think that. I think today that is so, it's very prevalent out there. If somebody says CFI, they expect a very qualified installer. They expect that because CFI has set that image out there. And it works. It really does. It's made... because we talk to the guys we'll call here, and we talk to them quite often, and they're so proud. I mean, that is the part that made CFI grow so quickly, was the pride. They were really, really proud of what they did, and to share that with other people.
No, I agree. I'm saying, I think it's because there's not as much like in person, right? There's nobody driving city to city or flying city to city these days and interacting with installers on a Saturday morning at a retailer. We do a lot of things digitally. And so you start trying to talk about charging more and knowing your worth and respecting yourself and how you're valuable as a person. And it's really easy to hate on people in the digital environment. And it's very depressing to see, because the message that you want to spread is people need it, and they need it to this day. I received that message and it's changed my career. And this podcast has been born out of that. And so like, I appreciate it. It's amazing that you run up against people that are just so hard headed. And I'm sure you did back then too, where you just ran into people where they were like, you don't know what you're talking about. I've been doing it 40 years.
I have to tell you something funny. Bless his heart, he passed away at an early age, but Andrew Offiero out of New Jersey and his wife Cynthia were some of our very first ones to be certified, and they really got on board. And one day Andrew came out of the distributors, and the installers were all laughing, and they'd flattened all of his tires on his truck. And they said, made fun of being certified, and this is dumb, it's not going anywhere, and you're just crazy. And Andrew loved to tell that story because it just made him more hard-headed than ever. But a lot of strange things happened to us as we went around the country, because we had to interact with people. There was no way you could do that at that time on the internet. I don't think it could have grown. It had to be personal involvement. You had to make people feel important, and you had to make them understand that if you're spending X amount of time on a job, that equates into dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And they had never really thought about that. I remember doing a suggested retail price list and things you have to charge for. And nobody could believe it. They didn't know you should charge for it. Some of them weren't even charging for stairs back then. So it was really rather strange that how we started. But what it did was it made people proud. And when you make people proud, things happen. Mm-hmm. And that's how CFI grew. And today, that same amount of pride. I talked to some of the fellas that's got numbers like yours, and what's yours? 126 or something way up there. What is it?
17,580.
Yeah, 17. I knew it was way up there. And it makes us proud to think we've done it. But mm-hmm. golly, it was so many dedicated people. And then we ended up around the world. We had chapters all over. We had the first ones to come were the Japanese. Okay. And Hiroshi Shujio brought a group in, and we had a contest between their installers and our installers in Kansas City. And then in South Africa, Alan DeWitt has done a marvelous job for us, and he's still really going strong. But it just grew. They met Jim mm-hmm. at services, and how can we get involved? Mm-hmm. So there was a real need, and today that need is still there, but at least you've got a platform to build off of.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I think that's totally true. There's a good, you guys set up a really great foundation, and that's why it's still carrying on, and there's people moving that mission forward. You know, you've got Danny Sherman going all around with doing Taylor Tools, and you know, there's CFI on the table. The Gladden brothers are making sure that CFI is in the forefront of everything that they're trying to do. And so there's still very loyal people out there that are pushing this agenda. Tice has brought back the installation competition, and so that's a great platform, right? It's a big show. There's people involved, and we're pushing. Look at the exceptional hand skills here. Look at these people. Let's come get involved. This is where you can learn these skills. So that base has very much made the entire thing possible. Sorry about that.
Well, look what you're doing.
Correct. And who knew? Like, if you would have told me, even myself growing up, like, yeah, there was technology around, but there wasn't this technology yet. And so to think that this is part of my job at this point. There is some pay involved. I'm not able to quit installing, and I don't know that I want to quit installing, but this is a very interesting way to help push messages out and make sure that people understand that they are respected and that they're valuable, and they should take pride in what they do. They're not a blue collar slob. That being involved in a labor based position, like it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It shouldn't be degrading. It should make you proud that you're building the foundation of America. So,
well, and it's working. It really is working. And I know when we put the test together, what a big job that was. And people had never heard of, some installers had never heard of ceiling seams. Some never power stretched. And of course, we still have those problems today. But you won't find it with a CFI installer, because they know what's right and they want to work. They want to be proud of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But there were so many things they didn't know. We just had to go through step by step, putting the test together, covering everything from floor prep, how to meet the customer. And that was all on a test. It was quite a challenge back then, but it worked, and the pride is what made it happen. Jim really enforced that. I mean, he really did. If you're not proud of what you're doing, go find something else to do.
That's a fair statement. Very fair statement. So, how has the vision was very big from Jim from the beginning. I'm sure he came home and he was like, we need to do this thing. People need to know. And if Jim's anything like me, I come home all the time and I tell my wife something comes out and it's ridiculous, and she just looks at me like, you're nuts. You're nuts. And then I kind of like, I go and do part of it, but then I'm too busy to do follow-up parts. And so I know you two made a great team, but would CFI exist without you?
Oh, heavens, yes. I was the person at the table that graded those papers. Got to put the little red marks and write little notes to the guys and do that kind of thing. And then I found wives of the installers who were there, and they were always so willing to help. And really, I just contributed my part in trying to make it grow. But it took somebody with a lot of noise, like Jim, and a lot of ambition. Because people wanted to hear. He'd go and speak. I remember one time we had 200 people just come to hear him speak because they couldn't understand how CFI could ever make it. You won't make it. We heard that everywhere we went. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen. Don't get too upset if it doesn't happen. And I think we proved them wrong.
I think so. It's still kicking. So what were the ultimate roles that you took on? Because if you're out there, you're great in tests, you're booking plane flights. Were you more like administration on the back end while he kind of ran around and you let him know where to go run around and scream at?
That just kind of describes me altogether. We had to try to get every week. I mean, we were running an installation business that was doing work worldwide. So we were busy as we could be. So we had a very busy life to lead. And then in the meantime, I had to get people scheduled. So we'd have someplace the next. We went every week. It was, you had to have hotels booked and people. And like I said, it was great back then because you could put anybody's name on an airline ticket and off they go. Yeah. So I don't know how we would have done that today. I really don't know, because as an installer, you understand that if a big job came up, first of all, you got to feed your family. And that's what Jim would say to him. Don't give up work that you need to have at home. So if somebody couldn't go, and in today's world, and you had that airline ticket, that wouldn't be any fun. So things were different, a lot different back then. And it was kind of an excitement. It was something new and different. We had the support of especially Mohawk. Oh my gosh, they sent us carpet to every event. It was right there and waiting for us. The flooring manufacturers that supplied us with everything that we needed. We didn't have to buy things. It was there. Whether it was seam sealer or whatever we needed, it was there. And that kind of support makes it easy to get things done. It does. If we had to beg for things all the time, you couldn't do it. Mm-hmm.
And
we didn't have the internet.
No, it's tough. There's a lot of networking and relationships that need to be built. And so I guess if Jim was working in Dalton a lot, is that where those relationships were built? Because that's the flooring capital of the world, as he was there networking with the high-end people at Mohawk.
That's right. He was there all the time. He was director of training for Karistan, and the Mohawk people really got behind us. And then he worked for Capital Adhesives and Jeff Johnson, Mike Lassiter. They really got things going there. And then little by little, so many other, I feel I'd be all day on this if I named all the people that were there and helped us, because there were so many. And we made up little signs, and we always let people know who was supporting us. Mm-hmm. And we put out a little newsletter and let everybody know what was going on. There was a lot of things that we did. I'm not sure that you could get all that done today. I don't know.
You just need the right team.
It was fun. It was fun, and Jim's dream came alive, and it will always be there. It will always be there, because installers were made to know the importance of the role they played in this industry. All he wanted, and he always said it, I want a fair playing field. There's the manufacturer, there's the retailer, and don't forget, without the installer, none of this is going to happen. And he really spoke to that so much that the installers began to understand the important role they played. And then and I don't want to stress this too much, but he made the installers understand that you can't install carpet, or we're just talking about carpet here, but you can't do it for $1.75 a yard. And back then it was $1.50. We found $1.25. There was no way. And Jim tried to compute that to an hourly wage. You can't push price when you're doing something, but he had ways of showing what you must be charging if you're going to make a decent living. You can't run around in an old truck that's falling apart and drive up to a customer's home and leak oil all over the driveway and make them think you're somebody special. You can't do it.
No.
So you have to charge enough to make sure that you're important.
I agree. And there's all kinds of levels of that. And I see it every day. And so, in fact, I have a Excel spreadsheet based on one of the old worksheets. Like, I kind of looked over the worksheet that Jim or somebody else designed, maybe you, and it was talking about like how much do you have to spend on tax strip and how much do you do over here, and like it was, and so I took that and I kind of updated it, and I have this Excel spreadsheet available on the Floor Academy website, and how much do you want to make a year? And how much is your insurance? How much does it cost you to advertise? How much do your tools cost you? And it takes all your business expenses into consideration, and it spits out, well, if you want all of that, then you need to make X amount of dollars per day. And then I sit there and I tell people, well, don't get hung up on a per day. Look at it per week or month, because sometimes you're stuck in a closet and other days you're in a big living room. So it's faster and slower. But
that's so true. Yes.
If you track how long it takes you to do things, and you know that you could get so many yards done a day on average and so many square feet done a day on average, depending on the task, now you can start looking at what you actually need to be charging, because everyone's always, well, the shops pay this and the going rate in my area is this. I don't care what the going rate is, because it's going to make me broke. It's somebody else's rate that pays them. That doesn't pay me what I want to get paid. And I don't think any installer is worth less than $100,000 a year at this point. In where we're at in today's society, if you're putting out quality work, I don't think any installer should make less than $100,000 a year.
Well, if you consider all the things that come out of that 100,000 before he gets it.
Oh no, that's his money.
That's what you want him to make. I thought maybe you
no.
said
Oh no,
that's not going to work.
His salary needs to be $100,000, and then all the business stuff happens on top of that, and the company still needs to make a profit.
And we still have the retailers that have hundreds of installers, and they'll go and out on the dock and say, I've got this job, and who wants it for this amount of money, and who wants it for this amount of money. And we still have that going on. And it's so sad that dealers do not understand what that installer means to their business. Installer can make or break a retailer. I agree. Really. Yeah. He can get more work for you, or he can leave an impression that they don't ever want to go back to that store. So it's a team. I think it's a team. The dealer and the installer must work together. And the dealers that are most successful, I think, realize the expenses that an installer has. And they work with them. We see a lot of that today, that people will work with the installer. And that makes a lot of difference. It really does. I
agree. There's a mindset. A lot of times the installers are walking in and they say, what's your rate? Instead of walking in as a businessman and saying, here's what I'd like. And it goes back to your point earlier. You said that there has to be a relationship between the manufacturer, the retailer, and the installer. There's a symbiotic relationship that needs to happen between all three, or the system's not going to work. It won't, because what do you do with like I said earlier, the manufacturer can produce all the goods they want, and the retailer can buy them, but if they're not put in, then it's no good. And if they're not being put in correctly, it's still no good. So there has to be qualified labor that works with a retailer to provide those services, and the retailer has to work with the manufacturer to do all the things that happen on that end, and then there's a smooth supply chain, and it can function well.
Well, we were so blessed to have people to work with. A gentleman in Leawood, Kansas, named Bernie Madden. He would get, if there were people come into the store, he would get Jim and introduce him. This is my installer, and wanted people to know this is the person that will be responsible for your installation. And we back everything we do. And it was we had such a great relationship with our dealers or whoever was providing our labor. And that makes a big difference. If you can have a partner, we called them partners, you'll go a lot farther than if there's no relationship at all. You really will.
Well, and I think that shines through, right? You had a relationship with the people you were running the installation business for, and they respected you and they were proud of you because you were proud of yourselves. But that carried over into CFI. Those relationships mattered. The only reason it grew was because there was these bonds being formed, and people were like, oh, I want to get behind this. I want to enjoy it. I want to be a part of this. And it kept growing. And that's why, I didn't make CFI convention, but I know that people go every year and they love getting together. It's why I like going to surfaces. I get to go see all of my friends that I don't get to see a lot, and we all get to get together and we hang out. And it's a big party. It's great. And that's what I want to see is you should be able to go to work with your retailer and have fun every day. You should be able to go hang out with if you're an installation business and you have a couple of crews, I want my crews to be able to go out and have fun in the field. I think that relationship aspect is very, very big.
Oh, I think it is too. You have to, the whole thing is you must be proud. If you're not proud of who you are, you're not going to be successful. And when somebody says, I'm just an installer, oh my goodness, Jim, that doesn't work. You have to be very proud of who you are. And I think that's changing. I have a young installer up in Wisconsin, and when we first met him, he was charging about $2 a square yard for installation of carpet. And I talked to him every now and then. And today he told me he just put a job in. It was very, very difficult, and commercial job, and it was $40-some a yard. He said, I would never have done, there's no way. But he said, I did what Jim said to do. Figure out your cost. Where are your costs on this job? Where are you going? You want to go in here and do this for $5 and get nothing out of it, because you won't. And he is so proud of himself. He has grown from, I think he has now 8 crews. And he says being able to pay them, I can pay them more than I used to be able to make. And that, that's so, I'm not trying to push price here, but we have to understand that when you sell a carpet, you make money. When you manufacture a carpet, you make money. And for some reason, when we got down to the installer, well, that was just a give me. And I think we've changed that. Not everywhere. No, I know we haven't everywhere.
Correct.
But at least there's a great percentage of people who now make such a great living, and they deserve it. I mean, it's not like I'm trying to say they should be paid for something they didn't do. They earned it, and they need to be paid for it. And the more you can be proud of yourself, the better job everybody's going to get, I think.
I totally agree. It's not always pushing a price thing. It's yes, there has to be fair compensation, but as you're saying, to be proud of what you're doing and instill that value in someone that they can know and respect themselves and enjoy what they're doing and show it off. That's what I want. And that's what you guys want. Is I don't want somebody to be ashamed of saying I'm a carpet installer or I'm a flooring installer. I want to be able to stand there and say, this is what I do. And I'm proud of it. I make a good living. I support my family, and I'm able to be respected by my community because I add value back into it through what I do. And that's where I think CFI really was able to grab a foothold, is because you were out there. It wasn't just about carpet. It was about, and installing carpet right. It was about so much more than that. It was about letting people know they had value.
Well, and to look right, be able to greet people in the manner they needed to be greeted. Everything made a good flooring installer. It wasn't just the hand skills.
Mm-hmm.
And leaving the home when you were done, or the business, in a manner that showcased your work was also very important. It's made a big difference, and we're very proud of where it is today. It continues to grow. People like you taking an active part in doing something to spread the word that CFI is out there. It is important, and it will continue to be important, I think. I can't see how it can. I don't see how it could ever die, because some of those people that were there at the beginning are still very active today. They're at every convention. They go everywhere. And we set up, I don't know if, I'm sure you're aware, but our motto back then was pride. And we had it on our shirts. We had it on everything. And professionalism, responsibility, integrity, dependability, education. Pride was what made it work.
I agree. I think those are all great values to have, and it's still on the shirts. I don't have my shirt on today, but it's on the sleeve. It's there, and it's still on the. And well, actually, here we go. Look, I got one of the big old CFI stickers. They're still using it because
that's exactly the same one.
It matters, and there was definitely at the end of my certification, there was definitely a minute talk of, okay, look. You did all this, but it means more than this. And it was made clear that, hey, this is a big deal. Respect yourself, respect others, go out, represent yourself professionally, keep getting educated. All of that was made clear that this is the mission and it needs to be passed on. And I have a lot of respect for that, because it's not just there's a lot of people that'll say like certifications are just a money grab, and it's just people trying to make sure that, hey, I'll give you a sheet of paper saying you can do something. So there is more to it than that. And that message is still being communicated, and the original message is still there. It hasn't gotten washed down. It hasn't gotten lost, even though it's been passed on. And that's very impressive that there's a lot of people that grabbed on and they won't let it change. They're holding true. This is the way it is, and we're gonna make sure it's this way. So it's definitely very impressive. I do need to interrupt us for 1 minute, and then we will come back. Make plans now to be at the Ultimate Flooring, Stone, and Tile event in Las Vegas, February 1st through 3rd. Register for the International Surface Event at intlsurfaceevent.com using promo code EXH2 for a free exhibits or virtual pass, courtesy of the Floor Academy podcast. Whether traveling to Las Vegas for the in-person networking and product sourcing, or connecting virtually at the hybrid event, the industry will discover highly anticipated exhibiting brands, new education, new show features, and much more. Remember, use code EXH2 when you register for Surfaces to get a free pass. Okay. So essentially CFI wasn't the main business, but it was a business for you, and you were out teaching people the value that they needed to calculate. What were some of the pitfalls for you and Jim along the way as you were developing this baby? Like you said, you started off charging people $10 to come, and that was nowhere near covering plane tickets.
Well, I don't really think we knew what we were getting into. I don't think so. I think it was a big dream that Jim had, that for installers to be recognized, the important role that they played. But I don't think it was, we'd sit down and see what we spent every week when we got home. Oh my God. It was a good thing that Jim had some very good jobs, because they all went in. And of course, the manufacturers knew it, that he was putting it all back into CFI. but it was so important, and God blessed us with the income that we could do those things. I mean, you have money has to be everywhere. I hate to say that, but it's there, and that was a big pitfall. Was we finally got to the point where we could start charging because everybody wanted to be CFI and they were willing to pay. We still didn't charge enough, but at least we were almost meeting our bills then. But at the beginning, it was difficult. That was probably the most difficult part. Distributors were wonderful. You'd call them up and say, "Can we have a certification in your place next month or something?" And nobody ever turned us down. Nobody turned us down. Distributors were probably the driving force at that time. Herm Clausen out of Kansas City, our distributor, he would even go with Jim. I mean, he believed so much in what was going on, and he sold the bigger portion of his supplies went to people who weren't certified at that time. So it really was, getting started was difficult. But it never seemed really, I don't know, it didn't seem so tough, I guess, because you knew every time you left, you had guys, they'd stay and sweep the floor, help us clean up. I mean, they were so excited about being certified that it was great. Tim Province, who's with Armstrong, I remember him calling Jim on the phone. "Okay, I want to know what this is." "What is this?" he says. He covers the whole western part of the United States for Armstrong today. And Tim said, "I don't want to get involved in something that's just not going to happen. I don't want to be a part of that." And he wanted, so he came to Kansas City. We had our convention in Kansas City, and we had a certification before the convention. And he came there and he got certified. And Tim has been absolutely marvelous in the way he's promoted CFI and hard surface for us around the country. And you met people who wanted to be proud, and people who wanted to do their part, and that helped. But I can't say it was easy. It wasn't easy. If our son hadn't been willing to drive the truck and load it and get us to where we were going every week, you couldn't pay somebody a lot of money to do that and make sure it was there, rain, snow, sleet, whatever, he was there. And it's all the part that everybody played was so important. It really was. But it was difficult. I'm not going to say it wasn't. But when you have people who want to make a difference and people who realize how important they are, for some reason it just came together. It just really did. It just, and that's what we wanted. That's what we wanted to happen. But we had no clue what we were doing. No clue. I'm serious. We were just winging it. We put the test together. We did all, Jim would give the seminar and try to explain to them everything they needed to know and demonstrate. And it took a terrific amount of time, but we didn't know what we were doing. We really did not know what we were doing. We just got there little by little.
I think that's anybody that kind of ventures into something, right? Like, how many of these guys started in flooring and didn't know what they were doing, and you were there to guide the way, and so you were in the same boat. I know, like you had mentioned, there used to be a newsletter, and I believe you did a lot of the writing for that. You kept track, and I've heard that people's birthdays would be put in there, and like this person had a kid, and like you were very involved in like getting all this information out and keeping people very connected. But I could only imagine that you weren't using the internet. Like you had to have a Rolodex the size of the room you're in.
Oh boy, did I. Oh, glory be. And you had to really stay on top of things, because if you missed this guy's new baby, that's hurt somebody's feelings. And you can't afford to do that. You don't want to do that.
Yes,
you want to be. And that's what we did. That's how we tied people together, was making families a part of it, that everybody had a role to play. There was a lot of funny things we did, and our newsletter was was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that, but my gosh, it was an all-night job. I mean, you just work that in with everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But it was something that made installers proud, and that's what Jim's goal was from the very beginning: do the job right, be proud of who you are, and represent CFI in a manner that we can grow. And I think it worked for him,
mm-hmm.
and it's still going strong today. We're very proud. He's working on a project right now where he's going to do these, like 90, I don't know exactly how it goes, but maybe 90-second little things that will come up on different kinds of flooring trades and things that need to be done, how to power stretch, what to do, online videos that will probably be 1 to 3 minutes, will be really short. And all of this will be a different topic all the time. And that's something we plan to get started before long. He's bored and he wants to be back into doing things again. And so that's what we're going to do. We've got it all planned out. We plan to really make this grow. So we'll see what it does.
I like it. Look, you can't sit around doing nothing. We're made to do something. And so
that's right.
he knows what he's passionate about, and he's going to keep, I bet you I hope Jim lives forever. I'm sure he'll be stretching I'm sure he'll be stretching in his grave. You're going to have to put the power stretcher in with him, and he'll be using it.
Probably have to put that in there make it work. But there's just a lot to be done, and we want to continue to play our role. We're not good retired people. We're just not. Some people really live to retire, and for us, that's just never been. Mm-hmm. He's continued to be active with his consultant work, but he wants to do something to help installers again. Mm-hmm. So that's where we are.
But it shows you. It was never about money to you, and it shows that, right? You're, and I get it, right? Like CFI wasn't making money. You've admitted that, but you're so dedicated that he can't stop giving back. This is his passion, and you're backing him 100% all the way, saying, yes, let's do this. This is needed. And I can't, how do you not respect that? How do you not get behind that and want to be a part of it? That's why I wanted to come and talk with you is I want people to hear it straight from the source that, like, look, this mission hasn't stopped, even though somebody else has taken it over, but like, you're not even technically a part of it anymore. And you're like, we're going to find a new way to do something. Like, we're going to keep this going. We have to do this.
Well, we have to, because there's so many people out there that want to do a great job, but they need information. They need it continually. Mm-hmm. And today they don't have as much time. They can't go out every week and do the things that we were crazy enough to do in the beginning. And we think this is a way we can share, and we can mm-hmm. make it continue to grow and people continue to learn, just like you're doing with your podcast. You're mm-hmm. helping people learn, and that's so important. And now they'll have their cell phone with them, and let's say they get out on a job and, oh my gosh, what do I do with this? And all of a sudden they can just open it up, and there it'll be. And that help is right there with them. They're carrying it. There used to be when Jim worked for Capital, they had Walker in your pocket. We went back to that, and we thought, that's funny. And so helping people learn, that's what we want to do, and mm-hmm. helping them get out of difficult situations. It isn't that Jim hasn't lived that. A young man told him the other day, he'd never had a recall. Never, ever. And Jim said, I remember getting started and all I had was recalls. I was learning. When there was no place to learn, you learned on the job, right?
Yeah, yep.
And you did make mistakes. And when people say that kind of thing, there's something wrong there. They're not doing the job right. You just can't live like that. I wish we could, but we're human beings and we make mistakes. Mm-hmm. It's just knowing how to get out of that problem.
Correct.
That's important, and that's what he wants to help them do.
No, I think
So
it's very important, and you're right. Like there's people you hear all the time. Oh, I never get callbacks. Well, maybe you just screwed it up so bad they just didn't want to call you.
well, I think it's funny, but we're going to do this in some kind of a video application that is there for them right out in the field, and
Mm-hmm.
they got to, everybody's got a cell phone and everybody goes to it for everything. So we want to help them more. That's our goal. So we're not going to give up. We're about 200 years old. They're going to say, those walkers. So anyhow, it'll be fun. It will be fun.
Let's see. What haven't I kind of hit on? I mean, where's you had, like, you've talked, right? And you got the support of the manufacturers. You had the support of the distributors giving you spaces. And of course there was always the installers that would come and not want to get on the bandwagon. Did you ever get pushback from retailers saying, like, get out of here, stay away, don't educate our guys? Was there ever, like, they wouldn't want you talking to their guys and trying to educate them or get them better skills?
Well, you always had a pushback, and you always had people that made fun. That didn't really happen so much after we got started. It was at the beginning that people really made fun of us. And how do you think you can do this? And installers would, I'm not going to be a part of that. I won't do this. And yet they'd watch what the other guys were doing, and the way they would leave there with their logo and their shirt and how proud they were. And all of a sudden you'd go back to that city again, and there he would be, that installer that had made fun. He wanted to be a part of this now. And yes, there were retailers. All they could see was dollar signs. If this guy's going to go out and get educated, oh shoot, it's going to cost me more money. And they didn't want to be a part of that. They didn't want to pay more money. They didn't want to pay for time and talent. And they would make fun, and they wouldn't let their people participate. And every now and then one guy would show up from that big workroom where so many people, they had so many installers, and one or two fellas had come on their own because they had heard about what was going on and what was happening. And anyway, what Jim was trying to do was show them a new way. If you want to make money, you have to produce. It's a two-way street. You can't just go in today and say, I want X amount of dollars. You've got to be able to do what you say you can do, and do it consistently, not just, on this job, but on every job that you do. Jim showed them a new way that hadn't been out there before. And I think he had the skills that a lot of people, aren't blessed with those kind of skills. And he was loud and noisy, but he really wanted people to understand the important role they play. And he stressed that so much. And it worked. It really did work.
So I guess a lot of this was so new then, right? There wasn't, like, people didn't know about row cutting, and they weren't sealing. Oh, no. And like, I'm not a carpet guy, but so where did Jim learn these skills from? Like, who was where did he learn these skills that nobody else knew about?
That's funny. We had a young installer named Eddie Braille. And in fact, he retired from our company. He stayed that long. And Eddie and Jim still are very good friends, still talk to this day. But they learned a lot of these things on their own. I mean, they really did. They were so determined to do a good job, and they found that if you did the roll cutting, and oh my gosh, they'd cut it diagonals or whatever way they needed to cut, that's what they would do. And they really learned on their own. They really did. And they could share that information with others. And I know when he wrote specs for so many manufacturers, and things that people had never done before. They just hadn't had the opportunity maybe that Jim had so much of. But he and Eddie were great. They wanted to find ways to make it work and make it work better. And they kept doing it till they were able to share that information. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know, it sounds kind of simple when you talk like this, but it was very difficult. And mm-hmm. it was something that you have to, I think anybody, and you can attest to that, when you go out on a mission, you have to be proud of yourself. You have to know what you're doing is right and that you're helping others. And if you don't have that determination, you can't succeed. Mm-hmm. It's pretty simple. But he wanted other people to do the same thing that he was able to do. And it took years and years and years to learn a lot of that stuff. Remember when CFI started, what would Jim have been? In his 40s, I guess. And he'd already been installing since he was 21, 22, something like that. No, because he was in the service, 24, 25, something like that. Okay. And he had to learn those things, and they made a lot of mistakes trying to learn, mm-hmm. but mm-hmm. They were always able to add something new, and people would call them with problems. I'm doing this and I don't know how to do it. What can I do? And Jim would be able to help them do those things. So it takes time, and anybody today, CFI has so many gyms. Yes, I'm serious.
They do. No, they do.
I believe that. They're out there and they're doing their part, just like you're doing your part. They're doing something to make it work, and mm-hmm. They're helping other people along the way. If you go to a CFI convention, it's like I don't know. We were accused of being all kinds of things. It was a clique. It was a clan. It was a bunch of crazy people. I don't know. But those people, when they got together, it meant so much to them. They could build off of each other. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think it comes through, like when you really enjoy what you do, you're always looking for ways to get better. So they were out there trying to develop new ways to make their jobs easier. How can we be more successful? How can we make the seam look better? How can we install faster? How can we make the homeowner happier? You know, all of these things. And then that kind of, then you're able to pass that on to other people and be like, look, you don't have to do it that way. You don't have to struggle with it. You can come do it like this. And that comes from people like just being really passionate. And then you get all those passionate people together and you start talking, and then the whole new ideas come and you say, oh, we should take this on the road and do it. And then now here we are, probably 27, almost 30 years later.
Okay.
And that's still the message. Like, love what you do, be passionate about it, and you're going to go succeed and be able to continue to spread that message. And it's infectious. And I think that's what you need.
It is. And I think that's what each one of the installers, they were able to pass that on. You know, they met their own group of people, and having mm-hmm. all those chapters around the country at that time too, and the distributors being there and letting them hold the meetings at their place and supporting them. So that all of that helped. Everything. There were just so many people that played important roles, mm-hmm. and we made it fun. You know, we didn't make it boring. It was fun. And they'd see the guys, and they knew it wasn't like he took a group of people with him originally that didn't know what they were doing. Mm-hmm. These guys could do it. I mean, that was what they did. And they could make that seam and power stretch or answer the questions. And everybody kind of, each one of the certifiers at that time had a group that was always calling them, asking them questions, you know, what they were doing. And we never put anybody down. Some people needed more help than others, but mm-hmm. we tried to make them understand how important it was to do the job right. And I think, you know, you're proud that you succeeded at doing something like that. Really, you don't always get the opportunity in life to do things that you would like to help others. Mm-hmm. And CFI was an opportunity through the manufacturer, the distributor, and the dealer to be able to help other people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what you're saying, the folks out there doing it, being able to actually have the skills and do it went a long way, because I know, like, I can go to a demo at a distributor today and there's some, field reps that used to be installers and they know how to actually do the work and talk about it very well. And then there's salesmen that are field reps and they know their products and they can sell it. But when they go to demo it, like, it's just not, you don't buy into it. And I think that went a really long way in spreading the message, is you weren't putting out people that didn't know how to fully do it, that they were the experts and they could demonstrate that they were the experts. And that's a really big deal.
It is a big deal. And and you make people believe in themselves. If the CFI certified installer didn't believe in himself, there's just no way you could have a number like you have today. Mm-hmm. And it won't happen. I remember we had that first certification at our workroom, and we didn't know how we were going to do this. We thought, well, you don't want people to think you just let everybody pass, And I remember Michael Hetz at that time worked for one of the manufacturers, and he called, I want to come. He's from Pennsylvania. I want to come. And several other people from different states, they heard about it. Can I come? Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, but we don't want to make this too big. But they all wanted to have a low number. That was their whole goal. And they all came, and I put the test together, and different people would certify different people, and then those people would certify some. We let everybody was involved. Mm-hmm. And of course, all of these guys had the skills. I mean, they really did. They did the same thing that we took out on the road. The same thing, the same certification. They had to do all of it. They had to take the test. They had to do every skill that we wanted. We had everything ready. And it worked. It really did work. It's a lot of working together, people wanting to help somebody else. Mm-hmm. And that's how it started. And they laughed. They had such a good time that night. It took them 3 days, but we finally got through it. We had certified installers, and the very next weekend we were on the road. And we never, unless it was a holiday, we were in some city every weekend. And that's just amazing. I mean, I don't know how. I look back and think, how in the world did we do that? And but we did. And Jim still is available today. People want to call and ask a question. He's available. He gets calls all the time, and he enjoys it. Mm-hmm. That's his life. That's what he lived, And if the guys need any assistance, they're more than welcome to call. They stole our telephone number. We had that 816-231-4646. That was our number for ever and ever and ever. And they, of course, CFI didn't want to give that up. That was a good number. And in fact, the funny part about it, it was one of our original office numbers, but it was such a great number. And John McHale said, this needs to be our number. And for a long time, it was hard because people would call and they thought they were getting walkers. And we did a lot of strange things. Let's just put it that way. But today they can reach him at 816-516-6677 if they've got a problem, and he'll be glad to help them.
That's awesome. Can you say it one more time?
816-516-6677.
That's awesome. That's very kind of you to offer. So a lot of this has been Jim's dream and show. What's Jane's dream? Just supporting Jim? You got to have, like, what's Jane's thing?
Well, he's pretty big loudmouth, and he just tells you what to do, and you got to do it. So that's where I fit in. So no, he had a dream, and I wanted to help him fulfill it. Let's just put it that way.
No, and I respect that.
Well, that's kind of what it was. and we had no clue what we were doing. I mean, that's the funny part. If anybody would have told me back then that I'd be talking to someone today with this number of 5 numbers in his certification, I'd say, there's no way. Can't happen. No, not going to happen. But it did. And we have, and what I like too is when we were at the last CFI convention, meeting the girls that are so involved, and a lot of them are doing hard surface, but it's great to see them in there. They're helping their husbands, and some of them are running their own teams.
Yep.
So it's good to see the girls involved and getting busy too. I like that.
It is. I think they definitely have look, I'll be honest, women generally speaking have better attention to detail. And so they excel in these trades positions where it really comes down to like little minute details and being nitpicky and stuff. And it's funny that the trades have always, generally been led by men, but they have a place and they deserve to be here. And oftentimes they outshine us, and good for them.
Well, I think once again, you're going back to teamwork. There's a lot of husband and wife teams today, and then they all say, the men always say just what you said. She sees things that I just didn't see it. I just didn't see it. And they work together, and it works out great. It really does. No, I think there's a lot that we can still continue to do. I'm excited about our new project and seeing if we can get a way to help and make it even better for installers. Anything that you can do to keep a trade focused on their ability to do their job right, I think that's terribly important. And anybody that, it's something new and different, so we'll see what we do. But I think it's exciting.
No, it definitely. Well, I was going to say, so that education perspective I went a long time without being interested in education. I lost interest by the time I was probably a junior in high school. I forced myself through a for-profit college at one point and got a degree in video production, hence all of my fun toys. But I didn't get seriously interested in being an active learner again until I started the flooring business that I own now. And then it was like, okay, I have to learn about flooring. And then as soon as I kind of started learning about flooring and being able to be a better installer, it switched to, okay, I have to run a better business. And now I need to get that business knowledge. And now it's kind of, as I gain more and more of that, it's switching to, I just need something to learn about. And I think when you can instill that in people and you can make them thirsty for knowledge again, then you're going to make an actual difference, because if you can get somebody to want to grow, there's no stopping them.
Well, and that's true. And when you do it right and you provide the information in the correct manner, people don't feel like they're putting themselves down because they don't know. They're becoming a part of a whole group of people who want to learn and make things better. And that's what CFI has always been able to do. And I think it's, if you ever go to a CFI convention, and people used to, what I was trying to think of what they used to call them, that they had a name for all the CFI guys, and it was really funny because they said, oh, you don't want to get around those guys. They all team up on you because they stuck together. I mean, they really did stick together. And they do that still today. They're very proud of who they are.
Yes.
And that's what we wanted. That's it. I just think when people are proud, they're not going to go out and mess up on a job, and they're not going to, they're going to do the job right.
Yeah.
And when you have a group, which they never had, there was no way installers, there was nothing there for them, nothing at all. And CFI led the way, and every certification that we held, if we held it in Tucumcari, let's say, there were people there from California, there'd be some guy there from Ohio, I mean, people who had heard about it, and then be 4 or 5 guys that were not from that area because they wanted to be a part of it. And they'd go back and get one set up in their town, and off we'd go. I mean, that's really how everybody played a role. It wasn't just us. It was everybody had their hands there and wanted to make things happen. It was really exciting. Once we got going, I think we got excited because we had, like I said, we had no clue what we were doing then at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
No, it's a great story of how one person's dream can affect an entire industry, and not just on a national level. You have an international presence now, and that's one person made all of that happen, and he didn't do it by himself. I get that you guys didn't do it alone, but it was one person that started this thing and said there's a better way, and then and found the people to support it and help build it and get momentum behind it and make this tidal wave that can now overcome many, many things. And that's what I want people to hear and know and learn, is that you can do the same thing. There's still, this industry is not fixed. There's still plenty of broken things in this industry, in the world, in your home life, anywhere, but you can take that dream and you can move it forward. And you might get pushback at the beginning, and you're going to be told you can't do it. Keep going. If you really believe, you're going to find the people that'll support you. And I think that's the big takeaway from all of this, is that believe in yourself, and you're going to find the other people that'll support you along the way.
I think so. And I think, like you said, you really have to believe in yourself. You have to, and you have to want to help other people. To make their lives better too. You have to want that. And if you don't, some people can just stand up in front of a group, and you've been there and I've been there, and they'll tell you all the things that they've done and what they're going to do and what their organization's going to do and all that, and nothing happens because all they want to do is talk. They don't want to put their abilities to work. Not that they don't have them, but they just don't want to work that hard. And it is hard work. It's not easy to make something happen, but it becomes fun. It does become. It's fun when you go to a meeting or you go to circuses and all these people come up. And I'm pretty good about remembering names. Jim, he doesn't remember mine most of the time. But anyway, so he's not. But oh my gosh, they're so excited to see you because you played a role in their life becoming better. And to me, I don't know what more you could ask of yourself. I really don't.
No, I think that's the way you truly make a difference, right? I mean, you're equipping somebody with the ability to believe in themselves. And there's nothing better than that.
No, there's not. And they change. I'm going to tell you a little short story that's rather funny. We had our first certification team meeting in Kansas City, and there was probably 20, let's say less than 30, close to 30 people there. And Jim decided that we were having a problem. People could not express, they could do the hand skills, but they couldn't communicate. So he set up a table in front of him, and he put every tool you could imagine in the carpet business on this table. And he numbered them. And then he had everybody draw a number. And the guys had to come up, and they had 1 minute to sell Jim the tool. You never heard such stuttering and stammering and carrying on. And this is a tool they use all the time. This wasn't anything strange. We did the same thing and laughed. We had so much fun, and we laughed. And then we did it again the following year. Well, I couldn't shut them up. They had learned from that you have to be able to communicate your skills. And today, most of those same group have very important roles to play in the industry, and they can talk.
I believe it. So I could sit here and I could do this all day with you, and I would love to, but I know I have some commitments to get to, and I'm sure you do too. So is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
I think you did an excellent job. You're very, very
Thank you.
good at what you do. My goodness.
And folks, there's no questions written down anywhere. I'm going to be honest. Like, this is, she asked, like, what are you going to talk about? I was like, I'm just whatever you tell me about. And then we're going to go from there. And that's how all these interviews are done. And I enjoy doing it, and it's fun to be inquisitive.
And you do an excellent job. And from our point of view, we really do appreciate, Jim and I both, the opportunity anytime that we can talk flooring and installation and helping other people. It's very important, and you're doing a great job, and we do appreciate it. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Right.
I appreciate you. The fact that you told me you have tuned in was fascinating to me. I loved it. So I very much appreciate that. Thank you for coming on and participating with me, giving a little bit of history. As I said before we started, this was really important to me because you can talk to people and you can hear the stories, but sadly, those stories won't always be around, and I couldn't find any good, like, hard documentation. And I think this is important for our industry to have. Like, I want to put it out there that, like, hey, this is where the idea came from, and you can go back and see it and hear from the people that were there and did it. So, I appreciate you being willing to share the experiences and how it all happened.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
Now you can go on to your next job and get busy. I don't want you slacking off.
No. Well, next year. I got a little bit of time. In January, I'll start picking back up. So
all right,
we're okay.
Work. Thank you again for the opportunity. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jane.
All righty. Bye-bye now.
Bye. We'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Flooring Domain is an award-winning online flooring directory and service marketplace that helps you find more clients, grow your online presence and reputation on your brand. Whether you're a carpet store, flooring installer, perhaps a tile contractor, there are jobs for everyone with a daily stream of clients visiting Flooring Domain and looking for experts like you. Flooring Domain offers a free listing option that allows you to find new client leads. You can set up a free account at Flooring Domain by visiting flooringdomain.us. Have you ever tried to install LVP on steps only to struggle with a solution for the stair nose? Introducing Snap Caps by SnapTech. You simply send SnapTech the exact LVP your client selects, and they'll turn it into a perfectly matched stair nose that clicks flush into the tread plank. For a simple and reliable solution, visit snaptech.biz to learn more or order. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for this week. I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you check out flooracademypod.com. You can help support us on Patreon over at patreon.com/flooracademy. $5 a month, $10 a month. Put your credit card info in, your debit card info in. They'll automatically hit you up, and it just debits it. Super easy. It goes a long way in helping the show to continue to be produced. Code EXH2. Get yourself a free pass for surfaces. That'll let them know you got here through Floor Academy. That would be really big. Make sure you click subscribe on the podcast listening app of your choice. And we will catch you next week. Remember, learn while you earn.